About a year ago, I stood in this spot and undertook an unboxed passport on the Operation Rainfall games. Since then, 2 of them have been confirmed for America, with high hopes for the 3rd. With all 3 games now localized in English, I think it's only the right time to give these games a real look at. See, I originally did these in the unboxed passport style, which is basically me getting an idea of the game just by what's on screen. So folks, welcome to Operation Rainfall Revisited. This week is Xenoblade Chronicles. Originally announced at E3 2009 underneath the title Monado Beginning of the World, the game was renamed to Xenoblade in honor of its developer Monolith Soft's head, Tetsuya Takahashi, who is most famous for the Xeno series of games. When this game was released in Europe, however, the subtitle Chronicles was slapped on for no particular reason. Monolith Soft's last Wii venture was Disaster Day of Crisis, a game that, despite being heavily promoted at the launch of the Wii, never saw a United States release. But that's another topic for another day. Anyway, let's get this game in. Okay, so now we got that out of the way, Xenoblade Chronicles. Yay!
The game tells us a story about 2 gigantic beasts, known as the Bionis and the Mechanos, who fought an endless battle that sort of did end with the monstrous titan bodies locking for the end of time. Eons have passed, and civilizations have been born and thrived on the shell of the warring giants, the humanoid Homs of Bionis, and the mechanic Mechons of Mechonis. And just like the giant titans, both are at war with each other. The story opens up on a bow which introduces us to Dumban and the mystical sword that he wields, the Monado, the only sword able to cut through Mechons. However, with a price, as the Monado is a mystical sacred blade. Just being able to control it is a task, but anyone who has wielded has suffered terrible effects to their body. We cut to a year later and we meet our main hero for the game, Shulk, a young boy living in Colony 9 and is trying to uncover the secrets of the Monado blade. However, while on a quest with his friends, the Mechon attack the colony and Shulk finds himself in possession of the legendary blade and discovers its ability to see in the future. This unfortunately isn't able to save his childhood friend Fiora, who gets killed by the Mechon. The battle system is unlike most RPGs. Instead of the turn-based system we all know and tolerate, the battle system in this game has you locking onto your target and initiating battle. From here you're able to select which attack you use, as well as initiate a chain attack with your teammates. Utilizing the Monado's power, Shulk is able to get glimpses into the future witnessing an enemy's next attack. While that's great and all, the game can be incredibly difficult at times with continuous downings. Fortunately, every time you lose a fight, you just go back to your last checkpoint.
Xenoblade allows for 2 control schemes, the Wiimote Nunchuck or the Classic Controller. What I hold in my hands is the Classic Controller Pro version, which has arms for better support and much better shoulder buttons. Now I know what you're thinking, the Classic Controller Pro looks a lot like a PlayStation controller. Well, considering Sony's track record with original ideas, I think we can let this slide. Also, I have to say the Pro feels much sturdier in my hands than a DualShock 3, despite the Pro not having rumble support. As for Xenoblade, sadly no GameCube support, so I recommend the classic controller option as there's no reason to use a Wiimote and nunchuck. That being said, however, I do have a serious problem with the classic controller layouts. As you can see here, the buttons are A, B, X, and Y, also known as the 4 buttons on the 360 controller. However, the problem is, unlike the 360 controller, the layout has been swapped, which could lead to problems if you're a regular user of the 360 controller like myself. You could find yourself reaching for the B button when you're prompted for the A button. What the most confusing of all is that on all other consoles, the select button is always the bottom button, but on the classic controller, it's the button on the right, and the bottom button is the cancel back button.
This could have all been avoided though if Xenoblade gave you the choice to rearrange the control setup. The fact that the attack select is done with the D-pad makes it impossible to move while selecting the attacks, while putting on the shoulder pads would have seriously rectified this, or at least given us the option to map the controls where we wanted to, but that falls into the coulda, shoulda, but didn't pile. Not to mention the targeting system can lead to some problems. In the heat of battle while trying to hold off numerous attackers, you could find nothing's happening because you have the wrong enemy targeted. Alongside that, being able to dodge an attack would have been nice. On the graphics side of things, the game is probably one of the most striking games on the Wii. By the Wii's perspective, the game doesn't look bad at all, but by the state of current-gen consoles, this thing just screams about being on a high-def console like the 360. But if that was done, it would just been labeled as another by-the-works JRPG that no one would actually fucking play. The only real downside is the way the faces look. The eyes just seem to be painted on with no real depth. The dubbing undertaken with this game is fairly well done. The only problem is it seems the mouth movements haven't changed, which make it a bit off. It should be noted that in the Europe version at least, you're able to select the Japanese audio instead of the English dub. My biggest issue with the voice is how much the characters speak during battle, spewing the same lines over and over.
Bring it on! Split edge!
Dose the healing! Coming up! I won't lose anyone on the field!
Alright, I'm feeling it! You like that?
Rhyme!
Awesome! Leave it to Rhyme!
The music, on the other hand, is some damn fine tracks, being led by RPG composer legend Yoko Shimomura, who's worked on some amazing hits like Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger, and Kingdom Hearts. But I will admit, despite being a dual-layer disc, load times are fairly decent, and the size of most maps are absolutely huge. No wait, scratch that. Xenoblade is beyond huge. As of typing this review, I've only been able to play 10 or so hours, and I can clearly see I've barely scratched the surface. The game begs to be explored with its vast world, numerous side quests, heart-to-hearts, upgrades, and so much more. Not to mention the comfort of fast travel to keep the game from testing your patience as you traverse the game's giant landscape is a great feature. Xenoblade is probably one of the most in-depth games I've ever played. The amount of mechanics and in-length tutorials about every single one are just staggering. This is a JRPG that quite clearly doesn't dumb itself down, doesn't streamline its gameplay to the point of dullness, doesn't give you characters that are completely annoying and or begging to be headshot, and doesn't lead you down a straight corridor for 40 goddamn hours! What I'm trying to say is, Xenoblade Chronicles puts everything back into the JRPG genre that a certain steaming pile of crap took out. And with Last Story and Dragon Quest X coming out only on Nintendo platforms, it's safe to say Nintendo has gotten back the JRPG crown after almost 15 years of standing in the shadows.
Xenoblade is an amazing find for anyone who loves the JRPG genre. Online co-op would have been awesome, but considering Nintendo's history with online, the game would have probably been unplayable with the amount of lag. As I speak, Xenoblade has finally been released worldwide. For Europe and Australia, the game is available at most major retailers. As for the United States, however, it's only available at GameStop or by the Nintendo Store websites. And it's clear people are in support of this game, as the game has sold, at filming of this review, 600,000 units worldwide, with the majority being in the States, having sold 230,000 units. Now, Reggie, let's talk about Mother 3. Well, thank you for watching the first part of Operation Rainfall Revisited. We'll see you again next week with the last story. See you then.